Hey, y'all. Good morning. Well, good afternoon now, actually. It's officially 12 noon here on the West Coast of the US of A. Happy day, happy morning, happy evening, afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. Let's see. It's a bit strange in that I completely 100% totally forgot all about our change to daylight savings time today. Well, overnight, sometime early this morning. And so I got up at what I thought was 7:30 in the morning and then discovered at about what I thought was 9:30 in the morning. It was actually 10:30 in the morning. So I'm an hour behind already. So when I woke up late. But that's okay. We'll make our way through it. I see we have 38 people joining us right now. And so looks like I'm not the only one who didn't um, who didn't take the time change into account, totally forgot it, or maybe some folks are overseas and don't know the US switched to daylight savings time overnight. But we'll figure it out. We'll make our way through it. Okay, this morning the video I did about 2 weeks ago went live, and that was on using sheets and then tool pathing those sheets. I went through that because here lately I've been getting a lot, and I mean a lot of requests for, okay, I've got my toolpath saved. Now, how do I get that into the computer out on the CNC router? So it was a matter of, well, let me go ahead and incorporate that in. Having said that, some inside baseball behind the scenes. A few years ago, I wrote up an article from my website, marklindsaycnc.com, sponsored by Harniel Media, who is out in the chat right now. Steve, he's your man if you want a website. I'm telling you, he's your man. Harnielmedia.com, Harneal. Steve, you can go ahead and put a link to your website in the chat if you want to. He's also my moderator and helping me keep an eye on everything out there. The article was basically the CNC process for the absolute beginner and how it is a 5-step process. And my plan was to make a companion video for that article, and I never got to it. Well, I will be making a companion video to that article that kind of goes through the entire process from the idea to all the way to the completion and assembly and finishing of the project. I just have to get it done. Steve has put a link to his website out there in the chat. If you're thinking about a website, a web store, maybe to sell your items and develop that big web presence that is really, really necessary today, he's your guy. He's the man to talk to, believe me. I wouldn't talk to anybody else. That's just me. The thing is, like, as I said, I just never got around to it. I am going to be making that video soon. So it's going to be a huge step backwards for some people, but I think it's necessary and it's needed because, again, like I say, I do get a lot of questions on the basics and how to get the design out of your head and into the machine, and then the parts off the machine and assembled. So I will be doing that video soon. I kind of included the tool pathing and saving G code in this video to kind of help those people out, but it does warrant a video of its own. So I will be doing that video pretty soon. So, bear with me. Before I get to your questions here in the chat, I was asked 2 or 3 times in the design of this T-shelf that I'm doing for my wife. Let me go ahead and switch over to Aspire and show you what I'm talking about here. I do this every time. I bring up Aspire and then realize I have to come back over here to share my screen with you. And then click a couple of buttons over here, then bring up Aspire. And specifically, those questions were about stopped dados. Now, what a stopped dado is, for those of you who don't know, is when I made this dado here to be cleared out to put the shelf in the side of the shelf, the whole assembly. I brought this out to cut this dado all the way through. And that would expose the shelf inset into the side here. And like a dummy, I didn't bring up the SketchUp model. Oh, well. And that was just a design element that my chief designer wanted. And I agreed it would look nice. Now, what a stop dado is a dado that stops somewhere back here. So you don't actually see any cut on the front of the shelf. And that's just a personal preference. If you want to run this dado up to, let's say, a 1/2 inch back from the edge, and you will then cut your shelf to match so that you don't actually see that cut on the front edge of the shelf. And that can be done. I'm thinking I would need to go ahead and create a project that would incorporate a stop dado, because the next question that comes up is, when you do, if I do run that dado up to here and stop it and come back down and cut it to the other side, I'm going to leave that radius corner in the edge. And yes, that's true, because this would be cut out with, say, a 1/4 inch end mill. So I would either have to make a cut in the shelf and then round off that edge to match the dado here, or I'd have to chisel out that radius here. And either one would work, but I've also got a little tip that I'll show in a video when I do something about stop dados. I have a little tip I can go ahead and show you here. And that would be just to draw a rectangle. Okay, before I do this, rectangle here is projected way out so that the bit will come out here past the radius of the bit and then step over and come back down this way. So I don't have that radius right here to contend with. This would be pulled way back inside to about, let's say, a 1/2 inch back. Then what I would do is I would do this as well. Let's say this vector here was pulled back to, well, let me just go ahead and do it on this. Type in to go into node editing, and I grab this node and bring it back, say about right here, and then bring this one down, reference off of this one, and click. All right, so now my dado stops there and everything's fine. Now what I would do is draw a rectangle. It doesn't have to be big. I can just go from here to, say, right here. Close it. And before I cut this dado, I would put a tiny V-bit, like we're talking a 15 degree, maybe a 30 degree V-bit. And I would just V-carve this about 1/32 of an inch deep. So maybe 1/4 of a millimeter deep for those of you on the metric system. That gives me this line here. Then I would cut the dado and I would have it marked out perfectly where I need to chisel out those quarters. It would be marked for me. And this toolpath would take maybe 15 seconds to run. And I would do it here, and I would do it here as well. So that gives me the perfect indication of where I need to chisel out those corners to take out that radius, if that makes sense to anybody. So now I don't want to make that change on this one. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. There we go. Now I'm back to the way I was before I started any of this. Stop dados are an option. They are a real cool design element. Another option that you have, but you have to be careful, is if you have a router table, you can actually take, well, here's the stock for one of my shelves that I'm using, this walnut here, is you can actually take a dovetail bit and cut a dovetail here along this edge and then another one here along this edge. Then in the sides where those dados go through, cut that dado with a dovetail bit and then slide them together. It was used a lot in shaker furniture, what have you. It's just a design element that you can add if you choose to do so. If you do choose to use a dovetail to make dovetail dados, I would suggest that you hog out the majority of the material first with a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch end mill. And that way you can do you'll have to do the dovetail in one pass. And by removing the majority of that material, you get all of that out of there. So it's just, there are many ways to skin the proverbial cat. And a lot of that comes down to personal preference, personal choice. And some folks want that clean front edge and they don't want to see the dados where the shelves are going in. And that's fine. A stop dado works perfectly. If you want to do a dovetail dado and then dovetail the ends of your shelves, that's an option too. There is no right or wrong way. It's, Todd HCNC is saying you could just notch the shelf. Yes, for a stop dado, you certainly could. The only reason I brought up that point that I just brought up with the drawing the small rectangle was to give you a reference of where you're going to have to either go in with a chisel and square up those radiused inside corners, or you could take a, if you have a one of the 1-inch narrow strip belt sanders, you could just round that edge, radius those edges off on the shelf itself, or just, use a chisel to pare those down, or however. Again, there are many ways to skin that proverbial cat. And this, again, it's 100% personal choice. There is no right or wrong way. It's what you want to do. I mean, you go to 5 different cabinet shops or furniture shops, probably no 2 do the same thing. So it's just 100% up to you. So let's see here now. But I will do a dedicated video to stop dados down the road. So let's see. Let me get to your questions now. Well, first, let me make sure that I got all the questions and comments here. Let's see, Fox Company 2/3. Okay. My company does all the in-store cabinets for Walmart checkouts, and and all we use is stop dados. Yeah, exactly. We use a 1-inch from the front on dado and 1 1/4 from on the male part. Okay. So you don't actually make the shelf fit all the way flush with the front edge of that dado. That's an option as well. Just notch out that shelf a little bit further back, because it doesn't actually have to be 100% form fitting on that radiused front edge. And I can see where that would speed it up if you're doing a lot of cabinetry. So it makes perfect sense. And, if you're into production, you've got to find all those little cheats to get product out the front door, because the longer it's on a machine, the more expensive it is to you. And let's see here. He says, yes, it does go flush. We notch the shelf 1 1/4 by 1/4 deep. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, again, you have to get product out the door, because the minute you take the order, you're late. And that's why I don't want to get into production. I don't like that kind of pressure. So, most of what I do, well, almost all of what I do is one-off custom for either my family or my friends. So, okay, let's get into some of the questions that we have here from the chat. Roger Brown was asking, is there a way to install clip art from a DVD to clip art in Aspire? I have clip art from Design and Make and want to install it in Aspire. Yes. And the way you do that, I believe I did a video on it. I will look. I did a video on creating custom clip art folders, making your own clip art folders. But you'll get the gist of how to do this in that video. I will writing a note to myself to go ahead and put a link to that video in the description of this video as soon as we're finished here live. But let me give you the gist of it here right now. I'll go back into Aspire. I need to figure out a one-button way to share screen in StreamYard. That would be come over here to the clip art tab, and you'll have to obviously put the DVD in and open up that DVD's folder so you can get to the files. Then if you come over here to the clip art tab and go up here to clip art and just hover your cursor over the word clip art, you see that bubble that pops up. See users, public, and it disappears after a minute. Public, documents, Vectric files, clip art. That's where all of these clip art folders are, is follow that trail. Now I've already done that down here. So I have C drive, users, public. It may say documents, it may say public documents, then Vectric files. Then in that Vectric file folder is a file folder called clip art. Double click on that to open it up. And there are the folders that are made, that are already in your clip art folder, in your clip art tab here in Aspire or VCarve or Cut2D. So you could select the clip art on your DVD and then drag them and drop them into whatever folder you want. Let's say you have a bunch of different animal clip art that you want to add to the animals. And here they are. Here's all of the different clip art files within that folder. You can drag and drop them in here, and it depends. Sometimes you will have to restart it after you've got the clip art put in here. Sometimes you'll have to restart Aspire, VCarve, whatever. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes it will automatically just update by itself. But after you've dragged the files and dropped them into the appropriate folders over here, they should appear down here in your list. So that's how you can do that. Or you can create your own folder. I don't think I've done it here. No, I haven't done it over here. I need to do that. I have added some clip art of my own. If you create your own custom clip art folder, you can add the entire folder by pressing this button here, and it will walk you through the steps. So adding clip art to the clip art tab is very easy to do, but it has to be in one of the formats that your software will read. For instance, V3M files will be read by VCarve and Aspire. Like this one here, Piglet 1. This is a V3M file. It can be read by VCarve or Aspire. 3D clip files or VClip files cannot be read by VCarve. They are Aspire only files. So that's something to be careful about. If you download a project from Design and Make that you are going to be using in your Vectric software, Get it in the V3M format, like this one here. Get it in the V3M. That is Vectric's native format, and it can be added to the clip art, and it will import just perfectly, just like anything else that you would find over here. So I hope that answers that question for you, Roger. Again, I will go ahead and link that video in the description of this video as soon as we're finished live. And there's a lot of things that you can do with the clip art that probably a lot of people just don't realize that you can do. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to jump this one to the front here. Jeff Woodywan in Connecticut, I believe, says, in the preview toolpath window, is there a way to have the active sheet background default to solid color white instead of birch, which version 11 has been doing? Yes. And that was a change that was made in version 11, as a matter of fact. So this will not affect older versions so much. Let me see. Let me find your comment and clear that and go back over here to Aspire. And when you first go into job setup over here, when you're creating your job, scroll down here. It's right here in material settings. Right in material settings, you can go through this, and you can use a solid color, use a wood, you can add a texture, you can use metals, stone, blue plastic, whatever. You can add textures within these categories. You can set everything up. So for instance, if I wanted to set this up on a red background, a solid red color, I would just click use solid color, then hit this drop down menu here and pick out red. Then click off and click OK. It's going to recalculate the toolpath. But now when I'm in that sheet, I go into the 3D view, it's now a solid red piece. And if I jump over here into my preview window, and it's got a solid red piece, I can preview all the toolpaths, and it will go ahead and start cutting. Now I'm not going to do this simply because it's too slow of a toolpath to run. And if you ever get in the middle of a preview and you need to stop it for some reason, down here at your progress bar, the end of it, there's a little red X right there in that square. Just click that. It'll finish running the line it's already on, then stop. Then I can reset the preview and go back and modify a toolpath or something like that. So, but that's how you would change that to set up. Then that becomes the default. Now, let's go over and check something because I don't know myself. Let's find out. If I go over here to Sheets, and let's say I jump over to Back, and now I'm working in that sheet. Is the 3D view changed to red for that? Yes, it is. That becomes the default color for all of the parts. Now, you can go in. Let's say I don't want the back to be red. I want it to be green. I'll select black, edit, and I can change my material settings for this sheet to green for whatever reason. Click OK. It's going to recalculate that toolpath, even though all I did was change colors. Now let's go back to, what was that? Let's go back to the 2D view. That was the right side that I changed to red. So double click on that, wait for my slow computer to respond, and it is red. So the two different sheets are two different colors. So that's one way of doing that. Each sheet can be its own different color, but that all comes in again when you first set up your project over here in job setup. This now covers everything in your material settings. Now, if you've already gotten this finished and you've decided you need to change something in your preview window for this sheet, I can come up here to the material settings for this sheet, and I can switch back to the medium wood that I prefer, and I'm back to that material for this sheet. Now, it doesn't recalculate the toolpath, but you can see how it will go ahead and change over to that material. Now, that's what I meant when I said in the video, I should have set this up in job setup, because I went through and I changed each color from that Canadian maple that is the default to the medium wood one at a time. I should have gone ahead and showed that, but it slipped my mind at the time. And again, to stop a toolpath in midstream, just click on that red X down there. It'll finish the line it's running and then stop the preview. Then I can reset preview and be done with it. So I hope that answered that, Jeff. So let's see here. Bum. Let me go back here, and I'm making sure I haven't missed any questions. Let's see. I can unstar that one. That's been done. Okay. Tag Daddy 56 says, greetings. Can you recommend a good CADCAM software that's easy to use and won't break the bank? I am going to tell you straight up, right up front, I am very, very biased. I am a firm supporter of the Vectric software. It can break the bank. That is a downfall. I will say you get what you pay for. There are a lot of options out there that are free or very inexpensive. There are some subscription-based options out there like Carveco or what have you. I've never used them. There are some free options like Easel or Carbide Create. I've never used them. They can get you by to start, but what most people discover is they outgrow them rather quickly. Now, if you're just starting to explore, then that may be a good option for you. You're correct in looking for a CAD-CAM package, because there are a lot of ways that you can draw a project, but then you need a way to calculate toolpaths for that project. I mean, you can draw a project in Adobe Illustrator, Corel Draw, Inkscape, what have you. You can draw it in Paint if you're good with it. It's getting it from that stage to the vectors that a CAM software will use to calculate toolpaths and allow you to generate G-code. Generally speaking, a CAD-CAM package like you're talking about is all done within the same piece of software. You don't have to learn two programs at the same time. I will say you get what you pay for. There are a lot of great free and cheap alternatives out there. I would just suggest that you download some of the free stuff and download free trials of some of the paid versions of things and get into the tutorials. All of these software publishers have tutorials on how to use their software. Get into those tutorials and start working with it with some simple projects. And you will quickly decide for yourself which one clicks with you, which one makes sense for you, which one is more appropriate for the use you want to the kind of projects you want to do. then scrap the rest of them and focus on that. Fusion 360 is an option. It's a pretty big hammer. It's an excellent program. It's just got a steep learning curve, and that intimidates a lot of people. It's an excellent program if you're doing assemblies, you're cutting parts for assemblies, and a lot of people do. But it's like using a 5-pound sledgehammer to hang a picture or hang a poster. It's an excellent program, but a lot of people find it too cumbersome for some of the projects that they want to do to start out with. I would just suggest, like I said, download all the free trial versions you can, find the one that clicks with you, that you like using, and then focus on that one. I started with VCarve Pro. I started with the trial version of VCarve Pro 7.5, I want to say, and bought 8.0. Never looked back. I used my tax refund to buy it. Yes, it's a lot of money, I know. And believe me, I was sweating bullets the whole time. But after using it for about a year, I started wondering how they could afford to sell it so cheap, because I just don't have the problems I see other people having with their software. I just boom, boom, boom. So there's a lot of options out there, and explore them. I mean, now's the time. You really can't mess anything up. So, okay, let's see here now. Let's see now. Mike, I'm gonna try like crazy not to butcher your name. Mike Dargouche wants to know, we are looking for advice on CAD software for making plaques and Pinewood Derby cars. Any suggestions? Again, that's going to dovetail right along with my answer just a second ago. 3D modeling for something like Pinewood Derby cars and what have you. 3D modeling is not a simple process, because myself included, a lot of people find it cumbersome because there are just so many options. You know, you can create a basic shape, then manipulate that shape in so many ways. It can get real confusing real fast. For 3D modeling, there are things like Blender, which is free, but has a pretty steep learning curve as well. Aspire is real expensive, but has a very flat, well, not quite flat, but a very gentle learning curve. And I'm talking about just learning how to use the software. We haven't even gotten into designing yet. There's Rhinoceros, which is a good program as well. Again, Fusion 360. There are just so many directions that you can go. It's not even funny. Also, look for a program that will import models from third-party creators, in that there are, believe me when I say, there are a ton of people making Pinewood Derby models and posting them on things like Thingiverse. Then you can import that model and then carve them. But that may not be what you're after. You may be after something to allow you on your kids to create their own. Let me just say that it's a process. It really is. It's there isn't really any one. There isn't a one-stop solution, is what I'm saying. So let's see. Lewis Denton, real fast here, says, just got Aspire and involved in a shop remodel. Have not explored Aspire. Does all this clip art come with Aspire? Everything that you saw in my Aspire folders, my clip art folders, comes with the software. Now, having said that, when you first install Aspire, you may have to go in, create a V & Company account, V & Co account, log into it, and then download those packages. And it's very simple. It's right there on the page. It'll show you how to do it. You may notice if you go into your clip art library, there'd be a little symbol there with an arrow pointing down covering part of that clip art. That means that clip art's online and you need to download it. If you just click that symbol, it'll download it right there. Some people prefer to do that as they need that clip art. Just download it when they need it, so they're not, downloading. I think it's like 1,400 files of clip art that comes with it. It may be less than that. It may be more. I don't really remember. But yes, it does. And Aspire comes with more clip art than VCarve Pro, which comes with more clip art than VCarve Desktop. So do know that. Okay, let's see here. Get down to the newer comments. Let's see. Let me find. Okay, Jim Rockland is asking, after you change the material color, will the program to default to that the next time you start a new project or go back to the birch again? You know what? I'm not sure. I'm not certain. But now knowing to get in and change that, where that's located, personally, for videos, I use medium wood. That's all I use. So, and now that I think about it, once I set that into medium wood, it opens in medium wood the next time I start the program. Unless I'm opening a file that has a different material in the setup. But for my videos, I use medium wood because I get better contrast so that you can see things better. But I might do a file in cherry. I might do another one in solid material color and do it yellow, which I have done in the past. But it just depends on the project. But yes, I guess the short answer is yes, it will open up in that color after you've changed it. It remembers what you used the last time and opens to that. So, but the thing to remember, I guess the best course of action would be to go ahead and remember to check that every time you go into job setup to set up a new file. So let's see. Rick A said, is there an easy way to put undercuts in inside corners? None of the Vectric software, the way the type of modeling it does and the type and the way it displays those models in 3D view and previews and stuff like that, the software will not display an undercut. So you will not see an undercut. You can trick the software into allowing you to put a dovetail bit, but it will not display as a dovetail. It'll display as a straight dado. You cannot enter a bit in the form tools that creates an undercut. And no, it will not display one. So now you can trick the software into doing what you want. You just won't see it in the previews. So let's see. Let me go back up here. Okay, let me go back over here to the ones that I marked. Bob Frail wants to know, is there a way to copy toolpaths from one sheet to the other? For example, rather than creating a new toolpath for the left side, you can copy it from the right side. Yes. Very easy, as a matter of fact, Bob. Share my screen and come back over to Aspire. And let's close this, scoot out of this, come back over to my 2D view. So for instance, in your case where you're talking about the left side versus the right side, I could come in here and select the vector I want to copy, right click, copy to sheet, and then just select the sheet that I want to copy that to right there. I'll put it on the back simply because there's more space and it's easier to delete it. So I just copied it over to the back. Now I can come over here to my back sheet, Come on, slow computer. There you go. And there's a copy of it right there. Now, I don't want to do that, so I'll delete it because I don't want to complicate the thing. But it's, as I said, just select the vector you want to copy, right click, copy to sheet, and then select the sheet that's there. You have to have a created sheet to copy it to. It won't let you create a sheet. There has to already be that sheet there. So let's see here now. So hope that got that. IL Peleg says, in the past, it was possible to right click next to a chat participant or on the menu and get a link to his channel. Is that something that you block now, or did YouTube remove it? YouTube removed that a little over a year ago. And what IL is talking about, and I don't want to do it in StreamYard because we get video feedback and all this other good stuff. But if you look over in the chat window, and put your cursor over a comment by somebody in the chat, you'll see three vertical dots appear. Used to be able to click those three dots and there was a link there that said go to channel. They removed that. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know what problems that could have been causing. But that's been gone for quite a while. Been gone for over a year. About the only thing you can do is you can highlight and copy the user's name and then open a new tab, go to YouTube, and then do a YouTube search for that name. And more often than not, you'll find them that way, but not always. So, but yeah, that's something that YouTube got rid of quite a while ago. So let's see here. Now, let me see if I got to everybody's question. Okay, Bob Frail says, I was referring to the toolpath as opposed to the vectors. No, not that I found yet anyway. If there's a way to copy a toolpath to another sheet, no, because, and I can kind of see the logic in it, because the toolpath needs to be calculated for that sheet. But I have, in fact, I think I looked for that. Let me just confirm over here. Let me go ahead and again, share my screen, go back to Aspire. And we're looking at, let's go over to, let's say the back cutout. If I right click that, it won't let me. Now I can duplicate it, but I can't drag that over to another sheet. So there's no way really to copy a toolpath. And that may be a good thing, to be honest with you. Prevent a lot of confusion that way. Let's see. Michael Keymont says there's something in settings that you can check and it will copy toolpaths. Well, let's go in and let's see something in the settings or in the options. And I see there's another one there from B. Todd Cox. We'll get to that in just a second, but you've got me intrigued now here, Michael. Go back into Aspire and let's go up here into my options. And let's see, window layout, 3D view settings, image file path, toolpath settings, append duplicated toolpath, check depth, use new raster, append new toolpath to selected group, append vcarve toolpath tolerance, drop tool, select sheet. Okay, I'm not seeing. And then there's confirmations. Okay, maybe I need to get in and find out about these settings. let me, and maybe it's right here and I'm just not seeing it. I'll shoot a email to the support folks at Vectric, and I'll find out if there's a way to do that. But I don't know of one just yet. Now, B. Todd Cox says you can copy toolpaths by creating toolpath templates, then apply to another sheet. Only works in VCarve Pro and Aspire. Let me explore that, and because that may be worthy of a video of its own. And that's an excellent point. I will explore that a little bit. I don't like to kind of play around with stuff like that live, simply because I don't want to get in and mess something up. So that's let's see, toolpath template, and then apply that template to another sheet. I will get into that because that's very interesting. Let me get in there and play with that. So, thank you, Michael. It was Mike Mazalik that explained it. Don't remember exactly. Okay, I'll ask him about it. So, let's see. Russell Faraday says, I have a big project so big that it's in 4 slices. Can I put the slices, their toolpaths, on 4 separate sheets? The toolpaths are getting confusing. Okay, you're talking about tiling, and can you put those tiles on 4 separate sheets? I don't believe so. You guys got some good questions. I'm going to send that one to Becky and Todd at Vectric too. Let's see, tiled on sheets. That's a good question. I don't know. I'll explore it. Okay, B. Todd Cox says you need to use layers and best to associate layers with toolpaths. Worked well for my furniture building. Yes, I'm going to get into that. In fact, thank you for reminding me. I'm going to be getting into that in the next video. And because, as I explained to somebody in the comment section on this morning's video, this whole design for everything is a work in progress. And the chief designer and I have added a few things and taken a few things away and explored a couple of ideas and then backed off of them. And then I got a couple of measurements wrong. So the metamorphosis of this project is not quite finished. So the file I'm using right now is a demo file. It is not the actual file I'm going to be cutting. Somebody asked me why I have my XY datum point in the center when they know I use the lower left corner. I haven't made that change yet. And that will be addressed in the next video in this series when we finally have the design finalized and I've got it dedicated and done, written in stone. I will go ahead and show those changes real quick and then save new G code and then go outside and actually cut. I've already got some footage shot because I've taken, this is walnut solid wood flooring. You can see I've got tongues and grooves and stuff like that all over it. Good friend of ours had a very expensive kitchen remodel done, and their ice maker sprung a leak and water just poured out of that thing. They didn't discover it until the next day, and it ruined their walnut solid wood flooring. So they had to redo their kitchen floor again. He asked me, do you have any use for this flooring? It's walnut. To which I said, get out of my way. Let me have it all. And heck yes, I want that. Walnut's expensive. So that's what I'm using to make this project. So, yeah, I've already gotten a bunch of footage shot on it. I've just got to get, now I got to start gluing up panels. So the final iteration of this project will be done in time for me to come out here and start actually mounting parts on the CNC, and probably Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, because it's all got to dry and what have you. So, but yeah, I will address this associating layers with the tool paths, because you're right, it is best to associate layers with the tool paths. And it's just in using sheets when I've only got one or two vectors, I didn't think it would be worth it to put them on layers and then associate those layers with tool paths. But now I see your point. Yeah, that would be a good way to go. Let's see. Lewis Denton says, thinking about posting simple videos called Lewis's Stupid Mistakes to help people making some mistakes I have made. How involved is it to set up an account with YouTube? Lewis, you've already done it. The fact that I can see your name tells me that you have a YouTube account and a YouTube channel. What you would do, I haven't really gotten a whole heck of a lot into this, was if you go up on a YouTube page, and, well, let me just do it. Let me start a new tab so I don't dazzle everybody with a bunch of extraneous stuff. Share screen, boom, I'm in a new tab over here. I go to YouTube. Come on, I go to YouTube, I say. Now, if you look over here, not up here in this corner where I'm signed into my Google Chrome browser. As soon as this loads, come on, slow computer. There we go. You'll see this icon right here when I'm on a YouTube channel. You'll also see this icon right here. It looks like a little camera. If you do not see this little camera icon, come over here to this icon, which would be, in your case, I think you had just the L or maybe the D. I don't remember which. But you'd click on that icon, and there you go. Your channel, go over to YouTube Studio is what you want to do. And in the YouTube Studio, you click on that, and it'll take you to your YouTube channel page, your studio page. So that's the YouTube Creator Studio. I'm not going to dive into it because there's some stuff there that is none of your business yet. Shh. But it's not difficult to get started. And there are a bunch of tutorials, believe me. It's a cute idea for a channel. I don't know. I kind of like it. But I don't know about calling it stupid mistakes. To me, the only stupid mistake is, I'll give you an excellent example. If you hit your thumb with the hammer, accidents happen. If you purposely hit your thumb with the hammer again to see if you're going to get a different result, that's a stupid mistake. But accidents happen, and we all make mistakes. So, okay. Russell was talking about slices, not... Oh, slices. Okay. Not tiling. I don't know. That's something to explore. I think you can, Russell. You should be able to put each slice on its own sheet, because it would be nothing more. Are you talking about slices of a 3D model, Russell? Can you put the slices in their... Can I put slices and their toolpaths on 4 separate sheets? The toolpaths are getting confusing. I'm not. I'm not certain. I'm not certain. I will. Okay. You guys got some excellent questions. I don't know. I will shoot an email to Todd and Becky on this and get them both working on it, because that may be something they hadn't considered. But it makes perfect sense now that you think about it. So I don't know. Let me get back to you on that. And Michael Kimont says default toolpath dithering mode, set it to all sheets, and it will recalculate toolpaths to other sheets. Oh, really? Okay. Default toolpath dithering mode. Let me explore that. Okay. Let me explore that before I demonstrate something here that I can't reverse. So let me explore that a little bit. But thank you, Michael. Let's see. I'm going to write that down for later on. It's under filtering. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're getting very close to the top of the hour. I hope I got to everybody's question. I'm trying to use this new thing where they put a big star next to your comments here, and I can just click that star if you have a question, and it will save that question off to the side. Then I can just click on a category called start, and I just bring up all your questions. So I just need to make sure that I got all your questions when I did this. Okay, yeah, it looks like I have. I all Peleg, yeah, you noticed that too. When viewing the clip arts animals folder, it was easier to spot the X files you tried to find last week. Yes, it was easy to find them. And the reason that I mentioned those X files is if the file has an X next to its name, that means it's made up, that clip art file is made up of a bunch of separate components that you can use individually. So if it's like an Easter bunny with a basket and holding up a big egg, the basket is a separate clip art file, the egg is a separate clip art file, and the bunny is a separate clip art file. It just displays as one in your clip art viewer, but you can get in and use each individual component. So if you just wanted to cut a bunch of baskets, that's easy to do. So not all files are that way. Again, it has to have an X in the file name of the clip art. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Next week, it'll be open Q&A because I have to glue up a bunch of panels. I won't have a video prepared for that. After that, it should be the final part of this T-shelf. I will show, again, for the super new, the super beginners, that I will show getting the G-code, loading it onto my controller computer, opening up Mach 3, and going from there. And we will cut out all the parts. I'm not going to say it yet. I'm going to show a new tool that I got that I have fallen in love with, but I'm going to wait until I get this whole thing all done and then demonstrate a new tool to you. And then we'll get this in the books and I can go back to our pirate and do my first epoxy inlay. Okay. Michael Kimont, FYI. It wasn't Mazalik, found that in the forums. Okay, that's why, because it didn't sound familiar, and I've watched all of Michael's videos. So, okay, hope I didn't flood you with too much information. I want to say thank you again to Steve Nealon, Harniel Media, for sponsoring MarkLindsayCNC.com website. If you are thinking about a website, want to establish a web presence, want to increase web presence, he will do as much or as little as you would like. If you're an old pro at this and just need a web host, he's the guy to talk to. If you've never done a website before like me and need somebody to hold your hand, Steve's hands are nice and warm, and he's priced accordingly. He'll do as much or as little as you want. Set you up with a print-on-demand service for making merch or what have you. Excellent, excellent guy. And I'm proud to call him a friend. There is a link to his website down in the description of this video and every video I have on my channel. It's always there. Hit him up. Thank you also to everybody who has clicked those donate buttons down in the description of my videos. Thank you again to everybody who has used the super chats and super stickers. You guys are the absolute, I have the best viewers on YouTube, and you prove it to me all the time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being you. Keep doing it that way. And we'll see you next Sunday for an open Q&A. I'll try to have some answers to some of these questions by then. Keep them coming. Thank you very much. Y'all take care.